Today on InvestigateTV+.
We have an active shooter inside the airport.
Chaos at the world's busiest airport.
Keep the planes away from the concourse.
Revealing security checkpoint vulnerabilities across the country. Plus,
I pick up the phone and I hear my daughter's voice and it says, "Mom," and she's sobbing.
A scam that sounds so real.
Listen here, I've got your daughter. This is how it's going to go down.
Criminals using artificial intelligence to trick and traumatize families.
I literally just sat down and just broke down crying.
then these women sparking an interest in firefighting for young girls.
When that bell rings, we come together and we get the job done.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV+.
Thanks for joining us on Investigate TV+. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Today, our investigative team uncovers a vulnerability at airport security checkpoints across the country.
Yeah, it's one that brought the busiest airport in the world to a standstill.
APD said some type of explosion at the main checkpoint. Somebody saying gunfire.
Shots fired.
Where exactly?
Inside the airport.
The video from Atlanta reveals the threat and an ongoing safety concern as the TSA finds guns in carry-on bags literally every day. And almost 90% of the time, the guns are loaded.
Investigative reporter Brendan Keefe breaks down the video showing the problem and the solution TSA has yet to install in every airport.
Move.
Everybody's running and screaming.
4713, I got some kind of explosion at the main checkpoint.
APD said some type of explosion at the main checkpoint. Somebody saying gunfire.
Shots fired.
Where exactly?
Inside the airport.
We have a call of shots fired at the South Terminal.
I see a police officer. He has his gun out. I guess I'm supposed to get in.
November 2021, Atlanta police run toward the sound of gunfire.
Go! Oh my God.
Go.
As passengers and TSA officers run for their lives.
What we got, man? What y'all see?
We have an active shooter inside the airport, so we need everybody to stay clear. Keep the planes away from the concourses.
The armed passenger ran toward the T concourse, but then turned around and exited into the South Terminal, where the gunman blended in with other passengers who were also running away.
3796, radio silence now.
Police were still searching inside.
Go, come on, let's go. Outside.
While the gunman was running outside.
Outside, everybody outside.
How did a passenger get to a gun during secondary screening on the secure side of the main checkpoint?
A TSA officer is going through his bag. He grabbed the gun in the bag and took off, grabbed the weapon and ran.
And right here, that's when the gun went off.
And a gun doesn't just go off.
Right.
Somebody pulled the damn trigger.
They think a gun went off and he just grabbed the stuff.
Right.
And the supervisor was trying to tell him not to, and that just...
Oh, okay.
Kenny Wells was a convicted felon who wasn't supposed to have a gun anywhere, let alone inside the busiest airport in the world.
How did he get by over here to be able to get the gun out of the bag?
Often, a bag ends up on the secondary inspection table right in front of the passenger because there's a suspected prohibited item inside. That could be as simple as a bottle of water, but it could also be something far more dangerous. Right now, there's no barrier preventing a passenger from reaching into their bag during the TSA inspection other than the honor system. Why no barrier? Why not have a barrier in that secondary screening between the passenger and the suspect bag?
So we have barriers up now. So back in November 21, we didn't have barriers up.
TSA is right. There was no barrier at all that Thanksgiving week. This is the same exact station more than a year later. Plexiglass at face height, but nothing at all right now between a passenger's hands and their flagged luggage.
So there is a barrier there now. We don't have it completely closed off.
Those barriers are for COVID, not to prevent access to the bag.
No, but it does give us the added benefit of providing separation.
We checked airports across the nation. A few, like West Palm Beach, have full-length barriers between passengers and bags selected for secondary screening. In other airports, those full barriers still have gaps big enough to reach through. But most, from New York to Atlanta, still have no barrier at hand level.
Some airports have full barriers, some have barriers with some gaps on the bottom of them. It's different kind of everywhere because the equipment and the stuff that's placed in the checkpoint during COVID was kind of procured locally.
Why does it matter? Because TSA detected more than 6,500 guns last year at airport checkpoints. Atlanta leads the nation with an average of more than one gun found every day. Yet ATL is one of the airports without full barriers at the secondary screening areas, more than a year after that accidental discharge forced a panicked evacuation.
We have disrupted the world. Well, apparently they had just seen it, and I guess were they like trying to find it?
They don't do that. They usually leave it up there and make me come and get it.
That's what I'm saying.
So how did this happen? When the bag goes through the X-ray machine, it stops briefly on the conveyor belt. If TSA detects something suspicious, the bag moves sideways behind a plexiglass barrier. If TSA suspects there's a gun inside, the bag is kept in that secure area for local police to take custody of the weapon. But sometimes it's just a question mark. The suspect bag moves to a TSA officer on the secure side who takes it to a table with no security barrier. The physical bag check takes place right in front of the passenger with nothing to stop them from reaching in and grabbing what's inside.
It's been more than 20 years since a single failed shoe bombing, and we're still taking off our shoes. A gun went off in the busiest airport in the world and effectively brought it to a standstill, and we still don't have a physical barrier between the passenger and a potential gun in a suspect bag.
If we know that there's a firearm, we're not going to let the person that owns that bag get access to it. Unfortunately, it happened in this situation because we weren't, at the time, aware that it was a firearm. We were supposed to do the secondary screening.
After this incident, the TSA launched an aggressive public relations campaign to remind gun owners to leave their weapons at home or to pack them in an approved lockable case as checked baggage. In May 2023, the gunman was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison.
Coming up on Investigate TV Plus, from psychedelic substance to scientific breakthrough.
I've seen it help so many people with depression and PTSD and anxiety.
Magic mushrooms showing promise treating mental illness.
Plus,
I pick up the phone and I hear my daughter's voice and it says, "Mom," and she's sobbing.
but it wasn't her daughter. The new way criminals are coming after your money using artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence has taken the internet by storm. So much so, according to global wealth manager UBS, AI chatbot ChatGPT set a record as the fastest app to hit the 1 million user mark just 1 week after it launched. But with massive popularity comes a stern warning from its creator. The CEO of OpenAI called for Congress to regulate artificial intelligence on Capitol Hill, saying his worst fear is this technology will cause, quote, significant harm to the world.
And now an Arizona mother is putting out a warning about a close encounter with scammers who used artificial intelligence to clone her daughter's voice.
Yeah, they made her believe they had kidnapped her 15-year-old and demanded a ransom. And as reporter Susan Campbell found out, it doesn't take much of a voice sample to pull it off.
The phone number was unfamiliar. Jennifer DeStefano almost let it go to voicemail. But her 15-year-old was out of town skiing. Maybe there had been an accident.
I pick up the phone and I hear my daughter's voice and it says, "Mom," and she's sobbing. And I said, "What happened?" And she's like, "Mom, I messed up," and she's sobbing and crying. And then I hear a man's voice say, "Put your head back, lie down." And then I'm like, wait, what's going on? And this man gets on the phone and he's like, "Listen here, I've got your daughter. This is how it's gonna go down. You call the police, you call anybody. I'm gonna pop her stomach so full of drugs, I'm gonna have my way with her and I'm gonna drop her off in Mexico." And at that moment, I just start shaking. I'm like, "What?" In the background, she's going, "Help me, Mom, please, help me," and bawling.
And you have absolutely no doubt in your mind that that was her voice?
Oh, 100% her voice, 100% her voice. It was never a question of, you know, who is this? Or it was completely her voice. It was her inflection. It was the way she would have cried. I never doubted for 1 second it was her. That's the freaky part that really got me to my core.
But the 15-year-old never said any of it. It was just a clone created by artificial intelligence.
You can no longer trust your ears.
Subaro Kamampati is a computer science professor at Arizona State who specializes in AI. He says voice cloning technology is rapidly improving.
Now there are ways in which you can do this with just 3 seconds of your voice. So with the 3 seconds, it can come extremely close to how exactly you sound.
And you don't even need any special equipment. I chose a free program for a test, and I'm not actually talking.
It's a new toy, and I think there could be good uses, but certainly there can be pretty worrisome uses too.
You got to slow down and diffuse the situation.
The FBI's Dan Mayo says scammers who use voice cloning often find their prey on social media.
They're going to be looking for public profiles that have as much information as possible on you. And when they get a hold of that, they're going to dig into you.
The Federal Trade Commission says scammers will often ask their victims to wire money, send cryptocurrency, or pay the ransom with gift cards. Once the money is gone, it's almost impossible to get it back.
The phone number's coming from an area code that you're not familiar with. That should be one red flag. Second red flag, international numbers. Sometimes they will call from those as well. Third red flag, they will not allow you to get off the phone and talk to your significant other, right? That's a problem.
The person who had supposedly kidnapped Jennifer's daughter demanded money. He started at $1 million.
I was like, that I don't have $1 million. I'm like, fine, whatever, just don't hurt my daughter. Then he wants $50,000.
Jennifer kept him talking. She was at her other daughter's dance studio, surrounded by worried moms who wanted to help. One called 911, another called Jennifer's husband. Within just 4 minutes, they confirmed her daughter was safe.
She was upstairs in her room going, what? What's going on?
What's going through your mind that second?
Then I get angry, obviously, with these guys because this is not something you play around with.
Wave of relief, though, I'm sure.
I literally just sat down and just broke down crying.
Tears for all of the what-ifs. The fear, the relief. It all just seemed so real.
According to the Federal Trade Commission, in the first 3 months of 2023, Americans lost $532 million to imposter scams like this one.
Still ahead.
It's phenomenal. It's something that I never had foreseen to come.
How this all-female team is making history.
Plus, magic mushrooms making history of their own. In the medical world, how one state is paving the way for legal use of the psychedelic substance. Once thought of as a psychedelic party drug, psilocybin mushrooms are now being used to treat some of the most intense cases of mental illness, from depression to substance abuse disorders, even post-traumatic stress.
In fact, in 2018, the Food and Drug Administration designated psilocybin as a breakthrough therapy for treatment-resistant depression, not once, but twice. Now, a number of states are taking notice of its potential. Since 2019, 5 states decriminalized the drug in certain municipalities.
But one state took it a step further, opening the door to psilocybin therapy. We head to Oregon for an in-depth look where patients could soon go on a life-changing trip.
It's the first law in the country legalizing psilocybin mushrooms.
I think I've said the words "I'm excited" probably 500 times since I got the call a couple days, but that's really the only way to describe it.
And Tori Ambrust is Oregon's first legal grower. Her business, Satori Farms PDX, received the country's first ever psilocybin growing license from the Oregon Health Authority.
And I've seen it help so many people with depression and PTSD and anxiety and vets that have come home from traumatic experiences. And so it's such a beneficial thing, and I'm so excited that it's becoming more mainstream.
It is really the spiritual or mystical type nature of the experience that seems to be what people are really benefiting from and really hungry for.
John Dennis saw that firsthand. He's been a psilocybin advocate since the early 2000s. He says its potential uses go beyond healthcare.
The measure allows people to take psilocybin for virtually any reason, which would include more medical and therapeutic type applications, but it would also cover things like spiritual growth, religious experience. It would cover microdosing and kind of performance optimization.
So what will it all look like? According to Oregon's final administrative rules on psilocybin, the psychedelic mushrooms will be grown only by licensed growers with tight restrictions. Facilitators who administer psilocybin at service centers will also need to be licensed and complete 120 hours of training. People given psilocybin can expect to spend at least an hour at a service center for a dose of less than 2.5 milligrams, and up to 6 hours if they take a higher dose. They'll also be required to complete a preparation session at least 24 hours before taking their first dose. In Arizona, the state has allocated millions of dollars to study psilocybin's potential health benefits. The legislation approved in May of 2023 designated $5 million to research psilocybin's effects on 13 different health problems. Dr. Sue Sisley from the Scottsdale Research Institute says the legislation prioritizes veterans, first responders, and frontline healthcare workers as research patients.
We have a mountain of anecdotal reports from military veterans and other trauma sufferers who claim that psilocybin mushrooms have helped them.
However, as states decriminalize and in Oregon's case legalize psilocybin mushrooms, the federal government has a different stance. The Drug Enforcement Administration lists psilocybin as a Schedule I drug, the same schedule as heroin, LSD, and ecstasy. The DEA says it can cause an inability to discern fantasy from reality, and psychotic-like episodes are possible with higher doses. That's why back in Oregon, the country's first legal grower of the drug says regulation is a top priority.
Rules and the regulations are laid out for a reason, and I think that was a really good example about why OHA exists and why this is such a regulatory sector.
Experts in the field are quick to say that psilocybin isn't a good option for everyone. The Alcohol and Drug Foundation lists potential side effects like anxiety and confusion, increased blood pressure, and elevated heart rate.
Coming up,
165 years, this has never happened.
the future of firefighting can be female.
To have 4 women on one company.
Meet the women inspiring young girls to suit up for a career in firefighting.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime, streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
I think this opens up, let the little girls know they can do it.
A group of women in St. Louis is showing girls that the future of firefighting can be female in a country where just 9% of all firefighters are women. But female firefighters have been around a lot longer than you may think.
Historians say the first woman and first black firefighter was Molly Williams, a former slave. She joined the Oceanus Fire Company in New York City around 1815. And in 1931, Nancy Allen from Rhode Island became the country's first female fire chief. She's credited with saving the life of another fire chief and 6 firefighters in 1936.
And today, a group of 4 women are blazing their own trail on the north side of St. Louis, leading a firehouse for the first time in more than 150 years.
Melanie Johnson introduces us to the women inspiring the next generation of female firefighters.
A call comes in and these 4 roll out. Engine House 26 sits on the north side of St. Louis, one of the busiest fire hubs in the city.
When that bell rings, we come together and we get the job done.
And it's run by an all-female firefighter crew, a first for the St. Louis Fire Department.
165 years, this has never happened. To have 4 women on one company.
Thanks to this dream team, Pamela Saunders-Isaac, Lacole McKinney, Jessica Jackson, and Elizabeth McCormick.
It's phenomenal. It's something that I never had foreseen to come.
I didn't have that growing up. I didn't see women firefighters. I didn't say, ooh, look at her, I could do that. So hopefully someone saw us today or will see us and think, oh, I can do that.
You have to have a strong mind. You have to be determined, and I was very determined. It was like more I was pushed away, the more I was determined that I was going to do it.
I never dreamed that, you know, I would be able to work on an all-female fire suppression crew.
She's a 6-year veteran. Over the course of 15 years, she's just one of 2 female firefighters hired.
I feel super honored and privileged to work for what I believe to be the greatest department in the world. I think that there's obviously a lot more work to be done in the recruitment, hiring, and retention of firefighters in general, but especially female firefighters.
When we checked in March of 2023, only 12 St. Louis City firefighters were women. The department is working to grow that number.
We don't get very many women that do put in applications because they seem to think that this is a job that they could not do. So with that being said, them actually seeing us today proves that you too can do this job.
As the fight to get more women on board continues, so does the hope that one day they can be promoted to be a fire captain.
I think this opens up, let the little girls know they can do it, even though they probably always been told that, oh, that's for little boys, fire trucks for little boys, but now they can see little girls, big girls do it too, and you can too.
When you love what you do every single day, it's not like going to work.
And they are so inspiring. And yes, the little girls are watching.
They are watching. Hey, look, I'm the father of 2 girls, and I tell them you can do anything you want. And that's a story that shows it. You can do anything you want.
Absolutely.
Very nice. All right, that's it for us here on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm T. Chappelle. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus.
I'm a stay-at-home mom. How am I going to care for my children? How am I going to keep this roof over their heads?
Gold Star families face a choice because of the federal government. An in-depth look at the remarriage penalty and the efforts to change it.